I'm Tony Freeman. I'm Head of Global Industry Relations at Omgeo. I'm based in London, but I have a global role, so that explains why I'm in Sydney. Omgeo is the primary provider of middle office post-trade pre-settlement confirmation solutions to the market. We're active in the equity, fixed income, futures, options, CFD segments of the market, and we automate the trade confirmation process between broker-dealers and their institutional customers. My role at Omgeo is to look at the regulatory world and to do relationship management with regulators, trade associations, policymakers globally, and also to manage the Regional Advisory Council for Omgeo. We have 4 of those around the world. One of those is in Australia. The output from the global financial crisis has had a big impact on operational processing requirements. Up until the GFC in 2008, 2009, the agenda was all about efficiency and doing more trades. Since the GFC, politicians, regulators, policymakers have taken a lot more focus on the operational risk angle of the market. So you see that in derivatives markets, for example, learning lessons from the AIG collapse, and also from the failure of Lehman Brothers, where a lot of lessons were learnt about the nature of having accurate data that's available, readily available in a near real-time way, so that you can get an accurate picture of risk in the market. So it's taking some time. Formulating new policy on a global basis is not a quick process, but the evidence of the lessons learned from the financial crisis are coming through loud and clear in the operational risk area. It's not a uniform answer across the market, and it's certainly not uniform on a global basis, but it's very evident that the focus of spending and investment has been in the front office for many years, and not so much spending in the middle office and the back office. Now we have a marketing slogan, it's "Mind the Gap," which we borrowed from the London Underground, where what we're saying is, don't allow your capacity to trade to run ahead too far of your capacity to process those trades in the middle office and the back office. This has been a known problem for some time, underinvestment in middle office and back office, but the regulators have concluded it will take regulation to drive change in this area. People will have to be incentivized via regulation to make those investments in the middle office, back office technology, particularly in areas like derivatives, which was a very unstructured market beforehand. Otherwise they won't do it voluntarily. It takes a regulatory push to make these changes. I often use this analogy, and it pertains a bit to high frequency trading as well. What the regulators say is that you're building a faster car, you're increasing the capacity of the engine, you're going faster and faster and faster, but you haven't paid any attention to the brakes. So you're building up much more capacity to trade and take on risk potentially, but you're not spending an equal amount of money on the safety measures which enable the car to stop when it needs to slow down. We've been established in Australia for many years now, more than 10 years, and we have a very active client community here. Historically, what I've noticed over the past 5 or 6 years is the market becoming a lot more cross-border, much more part of the Asia region, rather than very much from a perspective of a kind of insular national perspective. So it's become much more regional, much more cross-border. And there are some unique issues that pertain to the Australian market, particularly on the buy side, which is the focus of our business. You've got global firms here who the geographical remoteness, the time zone issues don't affect so much because they've got global processing centres. They can pass the book around the world. There are other buy-side firms that have built a global operating centre somewhere in the world that operates 24 hours a day, so they're somewhat insulated from the geographical time zone issues. But there is quite a large grouping of Australian investment managers who are only in Australia. They don't have global processing capabilities. Now, this is a manageable issue, but there are market changes coming up which might make it more difficult for them, such as the potential reduction in settlement cycles. There is a global debate, it's very much advanced in Europe, it's kicking off in the US, for a reduction in settlement cycles from 3 days to 2 days. Now, that might sound like a fairly dry technical change, but if you take a whole 24 hours out of the cycle from an Australian perspective, when you're so far ahead of the rest of the world, it actually becomes an operational issue. So you'll need to re-engineer processes. So if you're doing things once a day in a batch mode and there's a single cut-off during the day, then you probably need to re-engineer those processes, do things on a more real-time basis. You may need to think about people working shifts in your middle office and back office in Sydney or Melbourne or wherever it is, or you contract with a custodian outsourcer organisation for them to take over your middle office trade processing functions, because they are genuinely 24-hour global organisations.